Was there ever a There was, wasn't there? I wish we could graph it. I wish we could plot a graph to see. Do you know that in the immediate aftermath of the Brexit vote, immigration ceased to be a particularly salient point for the British public? Would you like to know why? Oh, you probably know already, because people behind microphones like this and writing articles for newspapers like that were not constantly telling people to be frightened or angry about immigrants. It doesn't really matter what immigrants you're talking about, does it? Whether it's asylum seekers or Polish builders, the song remains the same. You should be terrified. You should be terrified. I'm on the Daily Mail website and I'm angry. You should be furious. You're being robbed. You're being nicked. Never mind that the paper's owned by an actual blooming Viscount. It's that fella over there, labouring on a building site that's really responsible for the paucity of your existence, or those people living 4 to a room in a former hotel who are the real reason why you haven't got, I don't know, a golden water feature in the back of your garden. It's a slightly unfortunate turn of phrase. I meant a water feature made of gold. And it just works. It's so simultaneously illuminating and depressing to understand it and to watch it happen, because there's a tiny little bit of you that always thinks people will do better next time. People will know better next time. Do you remember when Farage was wanging on about Romanians all the time? And I mean all the time. You wouldn't want to live next door to one. It was Romanians here legally, working. I wouldn't want to live next door to one of them. Go back to the 1970s, it was everybody with dark skin that was the problem. It's the concept of repatriation, which Elon Musk is using his platform to promote with regard to this country, was a hideous policy, rightly regarded as disgusting by every honest person in the land. But here we are back again. It's worked. From the first moment Farage turned up in Dover with his Fisher-Price binoculars, rubbing his thighs at the sight of people coming over in dinghies, people who make up roughly 4 to 5% of the overall number of asylum applications in this country. I'll say that again, 4 to 5% of the overall figure, that we were set on this course. I don't even know whether or not the old conspiracy, it's not a conspiracy, the old theory about very, very wealthy media owners being so desperate to avoid going the way of many other European countries over the years and actually having an economically motivated revolution that they put so much effort into demonising the other. Because, to be fair, historically, this is quite a nice place to migrate to. It may not be the nicest place in the world, and it may not be the nicest place that it could be, but we're generally okay. We're generally pretty good in this country at recognising humanity over ethnicity and diversity over discrimination. And you can go back quite far in history. You can go back beyond some of the worst excesses of racial discrimination to see what we really stand for as a population. You go back to Cable Street and places like that. But here it is. It keeps some people warm in bed at night, this fear, this anger. It keeps some people in very lucrative employment, this fear, this anger. And, of course, it leaves some people living in abject terror and being abused in the public spaces of their own hometown because we have unleashed that demon again. It's back out there. It's back out there. And what do we do about it? So Eleanor and I chat every morning about what we're likely to talk about on the programme. You'd probably be a little bit surprised how uncertain we sometimes are when we actually step into the studio and the light comes on. I have a vague idea of the territory that I want to be poking around in, but I don't necessarily have a formal question, neatly phrased, that I can drop on you from a great height at 4, 5, 6 minutes after 10. Who am I kidding? At 14, 15, 17, 18 minutes after 10. And today one of the contenders was, how do we do this? How do you operate in a world where everybody is pretending that the single most significant issue in the country is former hotels now repurposed as processing facilities or holding centres for asylum seekers? How do you operate in a world where everybody else is pretending? And when it's just far-right commentators, agitators, columnists, journalists, Billy Bunch of Numbers with his bulldog avatar, when it's just them doing it, you can close the door. You can ignore it. Michael in Reading says, why don't you just stop reading the newspapers? Well, 2 reasons, Michael. The first is that the government is now dancing to their tune. And the second is, it's quite hard to find anything else to bloody talk about when everybody else is only ever talking about this. But it's my job to overcome the second problem. The first problem is real. Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper are now trying to address these, quotes, problems, end quotes. actually, between you and me, I'm still torn on which way to go into this conversation. Do we do it on the premise of how should we be conducting ourselves in the context of this insane public discourse, in the context of an absolutely insane public discourse, which is pretending that these issues are the only issues in town. That Reform, obviously desperate to fight the next election on one issue and one issue alone, because it's the only thing they can ever campaign on. The only thing they can ever do is just throw more fuel onto the fire of fury and stoke more flames of anger and dissatisfaction without ever pointing at the people truly responsible for it and pointing endlessly, well, as I've already told you, on Mondays it's Romanian builders, on Tuesdays it's Polish care home workers, on Wednesdays it's Filipino nurses, on Thursdays it's, I don't know what it is on Thursdays, Nigerian security guards, on Fridays it's Pakistani accountants. I don't know what it is on Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It's like the Craig David school of racist agitation. And it works because here we are. Turning everywhere you look. Look, there's Yvette Cooper on the telly warning students against overstaying their visas. There's Keir Starmer on social media, still on a platform that is being used to promote National Front policies by its own owner. There's Keir Starmer warning that you're going to be deported if you do X, Y or Z. There they are, making comments about people coming here with family members from some of the most unpleasant parts of the world. So how do you have a conversation that is rational when the whole world has gone mad? Answer, I don't know. Which is probably why we won't tuck into that particular topic just yet, because I need to do a little bit more work. I'm with Davey on this. It's like a racist Groundhog Day, James, and it's absolutely exhausting. That's exactly right. And, I'm only 2 days back from holiday, but that sense of exhaustion at the discourse. How many calls can a radio station take from people who think they've got the answer to the small boats problem? I mean this. It's not a rhetorical question. I don't know what the answer is. 764,000 apparently, and counting. I know what we should do. We should send in the Alsatian dogs or mines left over World War II. I've got a great idea. How many more calls can you take on a radio station from idiots who don't know the first thing? Talking about asylum seekers in Ireland bringing over 20 family members. Google is your friend. And yet here we are still filing these calls, taking these people. Unbelievable. They're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. Absolute lies. And yet somehow informing political discourse on both sides of the Atlantic. It's absolutely extraordinary. And I do not know, and God knows it's lonely as well, how many people in the UK media even pop up occasionally to say, guys, you've all gone mad. Or even to say, what the hell are the Tories playing at, considering that they caused this chaos, they caused all of these breakdowns in the system, and now they're pretending that it's all Keir Starmer's fault. It's absolutely insane. How do sane people conduct themselves in an insane universe? Orwell has some advice for us. If you can hold on to the truth, even if you are the only one, you will not go mad. I'm not sure that's true. I'm not sure that's true, George. I think Eric might have got that one wrong. If you are literally the only one telling the truth in a world full of liars, I think you might go mad. It's like a tension, isn't it, between, what's that film, the film, the news journalist, the TV news journalist. He's leaning out of the window going, absolutely. So those are the two poles of journalism at the moment, aren't they? The two poles of public discourse. In an insane world, do you truly stay sane by holding on to the truth? Or do you actually go bonkers like that guy in that film whose name I can't remember, but which you'll come to me in a moment? Or do you or do you go the other way? I don't know. So what's the topic today? Let's file that one away. Let's move into that Network, it's called, isn't it? Who's the actor? It's an English actor playing an American journalist. Now, come on! I'll play the clip in a minute. Keith, get the clip ready for me, because it's so powerful. So you have to keep talking about it. The answer to your question, says Anne-Marie, is you and Nick Abbott. I think it's a little bit better than that, but my goodness me. It's not great, is it? And the reason why you can't just stick your fingers in your ears and talk about things that actually matter. Peter Finch. Well done. Thank you. We got there in the end. Can we get that clip ready? It's so good. Peter Finch. The other element of the conversation, of course, is that you when the government joins in, you can't insist that people get over themselves. When the government joins in, a left-wing government joins in, you have no choice but to continue the conversation. It's quite bizarre. It's like a form of, I don't know, osmosis, isn't it? It's a form of contagion. Don't press the button. It's a form of contagion. In that what starts off being punted by the very politicians responsible for crippling the country through Brexit, austerity, Liz Truss, Boris Johnson, they sort of pop up, dust themselves down again, rely upon the fact that nobody in my industry is ever prepared to say, oh, I'm sorry, lads, I got that one horribly wrong. Maybe we should start listening to the people who were right about Boris Johnson, who were right about Brexit, who were right about Donald Trump, who were right about austerity, who were right about Liz Truss, who were right about David Cameron. Maybe we should give them a run out now. Let's not. Let's double down on all the cheerleaders for Liz Truss's budgets and for Brexit and for Johnson. Let's triple, double, quadruple down on them and see what happens next. Because as Einstein never actually said, the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again, hoping for a different result. And here we are. The government are joining in. Great line in The Guardian today from Gabby Hinsliff. This is really strong. Labour can never go far enough. This is when immigration becomes the policy framework, if you like, the policy battlefield. Labour can never go far enough to please some supporters without horrifying half the rest. It's the broken economy that is the country's biggest problem. It's the consequences of all those things that I've just listed. Plus, of course, the pandemic, horribly handled by Boris Johnson, but not in and of itself caused by him. And yet here we are, wanging on about cracking down on refugees, bringing their families to Britain, or stopping students from staying for longer than they'd originally arranged to come for. And it works. So, are there any people? This is a really important question. And I don't know the answer. Who is Keir Starmer trying to appeal to? 0345 60973. And do they exist? The people who have been successfully persuaded that immigration is the root of all evil, or that asylum seekers are the reason why their lives are not great. Or let's be more generous. I don't want to be too sweeping in this. There are people who have been successfully persuaded that having people living in a hotel round the corner, a former hotel round the corner, is the single most important thing going on in their town at the moment, or their country, or their life. I mean, the ones that turn up to paint roundabouts or put their masks on and start throwing things at police, I don't think anyone would argue Keir Starmer's ever going to reach them. But if you look at these very specific policies, these two very specific policies that we are presented with today, the first being a ban upon asylum seekers, successful asylum seekers being able to bring their family members over. On average, it's minors, it's children under 18 and a spouse. Or if you are a child under 18, it's a parent. So the average is about 2 when it happens. And that is not going to happen, which brings us into line with some other countries. It's not like a sort of sweeping or revolutionary policy. And there is a rationale for it, which I shared with you yesterday with that statistic about how appallingly Boris Johnson's plans to cover up the impact of Brexit by letting people in from chiefly India, China and Nigeria backfired. But these two policies, we're going to stop students from, quotes, overstaying, or even perhaps from applying for asylum, having completed their studies. And we're going to stop successful asylum seekers from bringing family members over. Those are the two policies. 0345 6060973. Who is that? Genuine question. Who is he trying to appeal to? And do they actually exist? It's as if there must be a huge hinterland of people. The ones that turn up to terrorise refugees in former hotels are at one extreme, whether they are, quotes, concerned mums, end quotes, or far-right agitators who've been bussed in from 2 towns along. So at one extreme, you've got them, right? And then at the other extreme, you've got well-meaning but possibly slightly misguided and idealistic people who don't recognise that you need to have a functioning immigration and asylum system. You know, borders are real and have to be observed. So people who say, I don't care how many people come here, I don't care how many refugees we accept. I mean, they might have knowledge of the reality. We don't do any more than any other comparable country. In fact, we do rather less in per capita terms than, for example, Ireland. Those are your two extremes. You're sort of chomping bulldog roundabout painter, and then you're, I don't know, look, if we're going to be a bit lazy in generalisations, you're sort of muesli munching do-gooder. And then there's this huge swathe of people, the massive majority of the population in between those two poles, to varying degrees. You plot the graph along all the way. Who is Keir Starmer trying to appeal to? And then the second question is, well, either, do they exist and will it work? I also want to know how you feel about these policies, because if you like these policies, you are not racist, okay? If you think that, for example, we should be trying to dial down numbers a little bit in these areas, and you give me sensible, intelligent reasons for it, that doesn't mean you're basing your judgment of somebody on the colour of their skin or their geographical origins. It means that you know when the Tories introduced a system designed to bring 6,000 people in to work in the care of the infirm and the elderly, they ended up with 679,900 carers and their families, according to their own figures. And that is something that needs to be addressed. Whether it's the most important issue in the country, I don't know. But it needs to be addressed. Who is he addressing? Who are they actually addressing? Is it you? Are you someone that is disgusted by the thought of a former hotel being set fire to, but who also feels that something must be done? Something must be done. Is it you? Is it your mum? Is it your work colleague? 0345 6060 973. Who is he trying to appeal to? Do they exist? And will it work? All right? 0345 6060 973 is the number that you need. And this, I really stress, is not a rhetorical question. I mean, the idea of anybody in the front line of other parties, except perhaps the Lib Dems at the moment being in charge, is absolutely terrifying. You think Liz Truss was bad, wait until you give Nigel Farage a go. But you can't have a government based entirely on being the least bad available option. I kind of want to see some light here. I kind of want to come to a slightly better understanding of why Starmer is going down a course that many people supportive of him and his party find varying degrees of repellent. But every vote is equal. And which votes is he chasing with these policies?